Hey guys, I'm going to show you guys how to upload your roster here real quick and some of the important things that I feel that are um, cool. Other things which are more cosmetics. Okay, so first off, and I apologize for the little bit of the whining and popping in my headset. Mic's not best in the world, but hey, it is what it is. Um, so the first thing you want to do is go into your settings, here your options. Scroll down to advanced and make sure the allow portrait screen orientation is turned on. This is going to be really kind of important. That way you make sure that you are able to select as many rows as possible, because going 2 rows at a time is a pain in the literal ass. So I'm running an Android emulator. I encourage you guys to use desktops, laptops, or tablets. Phones, because of the orientation, makes the website or pretty much anything unusable outside of gaming. So that's just a heads up on that one. So if I go into the roster using the emulator, I'll go ahead and pop out the this flyout here. Now it may not immediately pick it up, and I found out the reason why, and that's because the screen orientation here is filling up a lot more of the screen than is visible. So I just minimize it a little bit smaller and try again, and there it is. So once I have my topmost row selected, I'll just go ahead and do a screenshot. Make sure it's a PNG format. They prefer PNG format if possible. Now I do overlap it here like this just to make sure it picks up everything. It will duplicate efforts, but it will make sure that it's getting everything, because sometimes it might miss a little bit of stuff down here if you see that, okay? So I'm going to do this a couple more times. Making sure I overlap a little bit. And in the end, you get about 4 or 5. Of course, as they have more tunes, it's going to require more and more work. So let me pause real. Okay, so once you log into Discord, I did it here on my web browser. You can do it in the actual app itself. It's really up to you. Just go to Toolbot, okay? And that would be inside your, I'm sorry, did that wrong. Don't go to Toolbot there, which is, of course, our Discord server. Go to Direct Messages, and Toolbot should have messaged you the information. All you do here, because it hasn't been active, just type in hello. And you don't have to say anything, just go to your images. Make sure these are the right ones. Yep. Now, don't select all of them at one time. You can if you pay for the service. You can if you want. It would get rid of the advertising. I haven't done that yet. I may not. It really depends. Again, this is just a game, so freemium is more important to me than anything else. So why pay for something if you can get it for free, right? So go ahead and select your first screen capture, just to upload it. Then just rinse and repeat a couple more times. You do want to make sure that you wait for it to actually respond to you. I found that if it's busy doing a lot of other things, if you try to do it before it actually responds to you, it'll throw an error along the lines of wait, or throwing too much work my way, or shit like that. And now that I'm done, all I do is type in submit, as it says, queue total 5, submit queue. And it throws off some advertising on the way so they can make a little bit of money. Hey, coronavirus masks, I need some of those. I'll wait patiently. I'll go ahead and pause here briefly while we wait for it to get back to me. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that to actually get back with me and get the data crunched for me, because it has to go through an OSTR software to kind of push all that data into a spreadsheet. One thing I want to kind of mention, this is future knowledge. There's a PID, which of course comes from the game. You can go ahead into the edit tool and edit this information here, edit your name, use whatever character icon you want for it, and then just save it. The PID will actually be used once we get the API released, if it ever becomes available. But once it does, that will actually allow it to update this information dynamically on the fly using XML. That's the hope. So we'll see what happens. The other things that people oftentimes talk to me about, and I've seen happen before, is in settings. You want to make sure that this Discord ID is synced up here. Okay. If I unsync it, this is what the button looks like. You just click on link to Discord. That will then pop up this authorize button. It won't let you bake a cake, but it will get your username and avatar. And then I'll reload back over to Marvel and I'll show that it's actually synced up. This is kind of really important, especially if you use the Warbot. And I'll go into this here in a little bit briefly. Again, I don't think they've gotten back to me yet. Nope. If you go down into, let's see, Alliance, and this guy doesn't really have a lot on his plate here, obviously, but there's going to be war layout where rooms are assigned. I happen to be down over in here where my room was assigned. But if you go down into, back to Alliance and then down to War Defense, here you can actually edit your War Defense. And what a really cool little thing that you can actually do with is that, let's say, for example, Inhumans. No, can't do it that way. So you're like adding one at a time. There's Crystal, Yo-Yo. I'm going to be stretched to try to remember all their names. And it doesn't really matter which order you're putting them in here, but you kind of get the gist of it. And yell at me if you see the tune. That's right, quick. There we go. So once I have that in there, I can actually finish it. And it puts that in there. Now you can, of course, move this around if you so choose to. However, wherever you actually want to put it. The scroll bar is kind of misleading, and that happens sometimes where it disappears. When you're done, what this does is it actually removes it from your offensive roster. So when you're typing the ~C team name, team strength, it won't actually use that for a reference of something that you have in your offensive roster. Kind of important, again, kind of cool. We're really more at looking at the roster level because we want to look, especially if folks happen to have things like Karnak, for example, or Crystal, or Yo-Yo, even Mantis, Cyclops, some of these other tunes which have not yet been touched too much. And again, this is a voluntary program so that we can kind of help you guys focus your attention on really important tunes, especially sets of tunes, so that we can help off with not only the offensive, but defensive in war. Okay? That's part of the reason why we're kind of really focused on this. But also, and let's get back to raid maps. We have maps here. This guy, of course, doesn't use. He does use them. Looks like. How about that? So when you assign lane assignments, this actually allows me, rather than having to go back and forth with you guys, say, hey, Vampire, what can you happen to run these lanes. And it's like, that earlier we actually had a spreadsheet, and it became, kind of a bit of a rigor mortis trying to get people to fill out the information. This allows us to kind of go into your roster, and when we're actually in that roster, be able to look at different traits to see, do you actually have the teams to be able to hit a certain grade math. So, okay. So, fast forward, we have the processing done. You can do one of two things. You can go ahead and click on the spreadsheet, take a look, and make sure all the data looks pretty. We've got to be patient here, apparently. There we go. And so you can kind of go through this. Tells you if the status has been changed or unchanged. Tells you what the new stats are. Yada yada yada. So you kind of get a feel for what that has. I usually just ignore that. I'm of the belief that the more times you do this, the smarter the tool gets. And again, I don't care if it's off by about 5 or 10K. I really don't care. I'm more concerned about getting the data up there so that it makes my life a little bit easier if I happen to be having a rough day and needing to get into war. Okay. So once one of the things we've talked about before is, and I've talked to folks about this, is there's a feature in here for Stark Tech. You can do this actually manually, where you can set your resistance and your armor. You can actually edit this. It's a view only, but you can of course go in here and actually edit the data, or you can manually put the data in. If I recall, it's just by typing in Stark. If I want to change that, I would just type in, like, for example, if I want to change it to 25, I would just Stark Tech All. And I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Scroll up real quickly. Yep, I'm sorry, Stark All Tech. Sorry, let me restate that, Stark All 23. So I would, of course, type that in, Stark All 25. There we go. So now that that is actually in there, I would hit enter. It would actually update that on the spreadsheet for me. Life is happy. When you're done, just go ahead and type in save. This will then give you a prompt back. And you have two options. Of course, you can get this URL, which is right here. Not really that important. I'm more concerned about the ID, which is at the end here. And the easiest way to do that is just type in ID. And then just copy and paste this entire line of code there. Now, since I've already actually updated my roster in the past on this tune, all I have to do is click on the little button that says MSF here. Because this unique identifier will never change, there's not really a reason for me to paste it in here again. But if you haven't done this before, obviously copy and paste it into this field, then click done. And then when it's finished, you'll see these numbers magically change. And that's pretty much it. From Alliance perspective, again, go into the user panel, make sure everything's kind of synced up properly. It will make your life happier. Again, that's found in the drop-down menu for settings. To view your roster, obviously. And if you happen to be, wanting to see what other people, their roster looks like, it is possible to click on their roster and actually see what they look like